Just in case, because sometimes people like to say I'm a liar, or VVAW, none of us really served. But just to show you, Freedom of Information Act, which is a wonderful thing. Here is an FBI notification to the U.S. military in Saigon from 1971. Be careful! Vietnam vets against the war is coming. How fearful are these men with tanks and planes and B-52s that Vietnam vets against the war sent chills down their spine. Worse than any barbarian invasion of Rome was the question of those who had gone before these young men and women, and we're now asking them there to join us in opposing the war. We didn't have a Xerox. One other. Kind of silly. I know this may look to you like a normal patch, VVAW patch. After Winter Soldier, but more importantly, after Dewey Canyon, when we threw our medals away, the Vietnamese issued a statement that said, those who wear the upside-down rifle and do not commit war crimes against the Vietnamese people, we will not shoot or initiate combat with. In I Corps near Da Nang, the Korean seamstress turned these things out by the fives of thousands. Not just VVAW members, but tons of people who didn't want to write, put their name down on a form and will eventually follow them the rest of their lives. And also one in Saigon. Tens of thousands. And GIs wore them on their uniform. What you going to do? Send me to Vietnam? Winter Soldier was not a big splash in the media. Winter Soldier brought together a generation of Vietnam vets who didn't know who or what Vietnam Vets Against the War was. I'd already been involved for over a year. I got out of the service and got involved in the peace movement and walked down in the basement of our community college, and a ton of people down there. I wanted to see what I could do. Discovered when people started talking that half the males were vets, Vietnam vets. We instantly, before we thought of a vets group, started working with GIs. I heard about Winter Soldier investigation and went because of our contacts up and down the West Coast through the GI movement. Winter Soldier provided Vietnam Vets Against the War with the practical interaction of some vets around the country. And that was a crucial thing it served, organization. It's one of the most important things. Gets on your nerves. God, not another meeting. But you can't end the war if you're not willing to have meetings. And what you give a generation when we're dead is the organization that you leave behind. It don't happen because there's a Martin Luther King. It don't happen because there's a Robert Kennedy. It happens because there's 100, there's 1,000 Martin Luther Kings. Good ideas are not enough if there is not organization. And unfortunately, I don't think this war is going to end on Sunday, no matter what you do, brothers and sisters. But this can lead the way to other things. And, most importantly, it can speak truth to the American public in a way that they did not listen to us in 1971 when we testified. It's also something else. An act of courage to tell the truth. For working class people, putting on a uniform and getting a medal really is the highlight of your life. When you get buried, you're supposed to have medals. When your grandkids come over, you talk about the good old days. When you tell the truth, when you cut through the lies, when you end the culture, that military service is what makes you a man or a woman, as opposed to political action to fight for justice, to fight for an end to violence. That is the real legacy that we have to leave behind. And what our special role as veterans and active GIs is telling the people the truth about what their government is doing. And that's what you're doing. A lot of you have seen Winter Soldier. It's a great one. But it didn't show things. If we had made documentaries, and just a little word to the wise. I mean, I love these documentaries. But I have to say it. As a non-artist, as a person who is not blessed with the ability to write without misspelling more words than I care to tell you about. But I can talk a little. But we had at the Winter Soldier, and which you will never see, 2 Asian Americans, and I want to honor them because they didn't make the cut. Scott Shimabukuro, Marine, Japanese, American, LA. Mike Nakayama, Chinese. Asian Americans, gooks, in an army killing gooks, taking over along with the black Native American. I was the only Chicano there. And demanding that racism not only be addressed to those we killed, but to how our own servicemen were being treated. The final cut didn't make them talking about what it was like fighting in a white man's army, killing gooks when they were gook. And so I mentioned their names just so that their spirit continues. Because that's how we pass it on. If it's not in the movies or the books that don't exist, bullshit. It passes it on because we remember what those people did and organized. And if the books don't remember them, we honor them. And so on.